Good morning. Wow, that's a bright light. I'm going to stand over here. So it's great to be here. I'm actually a big fan of Poland. I'm 50% Polish, so feels like home, or at least it should. That's what Chris told me. So we just heard about beeps and bits and freaky things and noises. I'm going to change topics completely and talk to you about people. Yes, they're important, but funnily enough, at these kinds of events, we don't talk about them so much. So I'm going to do that. And it was kind of convenient that we cut for a break and I got to put my first slide up so that people could have a look at it. And I don't intend to read it to you, or else Alex would yell and scream and tweet about it. But I just wanted to show you a sample of the many emails that we get every day from people who are interested in working with us. But I think these samples apply to anyone. And if you've read one of them or two of them, I think you'll see that maybe they're not the most effective things to use when trying to approach someone that you don't know. Because really, time is extremely limited today. We're bombarded by information. And so we have to make very, very quick choices about what we're going to action, who we're going to respond to, and who we're going to engage with. So if you can imagine, these emails don't get responded to because we don't have time, okay? So I want to talk to you today about people things. I want to talk to you about networking. I want to talk about mentoring, and I want to talk about hiring, okay? These things, I think, actually make the most difference in successful startups. Everyone talks about how important the team is, okay? It's pretty much a given, right? Don said, I'd invest first in the team over the tech, okay? And almost every investor I've ever met says that. Almost every hiring manager always says that. But how serious are you about it? How serious are you about investing in the people in your startup and meeting the people that you need to meet to make that startup successful? My theory is that if you don't invest enough in that, if you're not committed enough to that, no matter how great your product is, you're not going to go anywhere. Okay? So before I start that talk, just a little bit of background. As Chris said, my name is David Bizer. I work for HackFwd. I'm responsible for everything talent related, so I call myself the front door. You can't get in if you can't get through me. Hence, you don't write emails like I just showed you. And I've been doing this for a couple of years now. We've just completed our 16th investment. We've done 16 investments in 7 or 8 different countries now. And if you don't know, we focus exclusively on investing in software developers as founders. I wanted to take the opportunity to show you something because we just premiered it over the weekend in Berlin, and I think it's a nice background, and I'm really proud of it. And for those of you who don't know HackFwd, you'll see a little bit more inside of it, and for those of you that do, you'll see a little bit of our progress over the past 2 years.
It's now the second year of HackFwd, and it has been an amazing year. The first year of HackFwd was great, the second one was even better. And HackFwd is getting bigger and bigger. We're expanding across entire Europe. We have grown as team and with our Hackboxes dramatically. And so much things happened, we're thinking that sometimes we just forgot to sleep.
The entire year was a roller coaster ride, basically, but with far more ups than downs. It's always unbelievably inspiring.
I have never been to any event similar to this one, because I'm the guy who's really stays at home with programming. So everything is new to me, and I'm very enthusiastic and happy.
We moved last year to Berlin, the new tech hub across Europe. This vibrant city with all these grassroots movements, we just needed to be here with all our Hackboxes. We started with 19 participants at our first event, but now we have grown much bigger to over 100 participants. We were just run out of space in Mallorca, so we're now in this great city.
Berlin has much more this startup and entrepreneurial culture here. Mallorca is very much holiday, and this is really about starting companies.
So you get far more work done here, and it's also right in the middle of one of the biggest cities in Europe, one of the pulsing centers for tech and innovation.
We changed also the format a bit. We open up for the best developers and great minds out of the industry, from the best VCs from across the world, from well-known experts out of America. We just bring together an amazing crowd of people here in Berlin. As an example, we got Werner Vogels, the father of the cloud, the guy who actually invented cloud computing, to speak to us and spend 4 days with our hackboxes. We had Thorsten Reil, the master of game development, speaking to us, and he's the only one who got 8 iPhone games featured as apps of the week. We get great talents to Berlin, and they spend enormous time with our hackboxes, and this is really peer exchange on the highest level.
The level of exchange on technical, product and business level is just so amazing. It's the community with the highest level that I know of.
To me, this has been an energizing experience. A lot of bright people, passionate people that are working on great things.
Things get done very quickly. Like I suggest features to Watch Later app, the next day is implemented.
And HackFwd has a great alliance with the leading blocks of the tech world, TechCrunch, GigaOM, The Next Web and others. And those journalists come to our events and cover our startups. So we get covered, our startups get covered, and everybody gets more and more in the eye of the media. We had a very successful year. We added 7 new companies to the HackFwd community with exceptional minds and brains of input. And our companies, reaching now from UK to Latvia, from France to Austria, just all across Europe, gained so much success.
We are an unknown small company from Poland, so in order for others to talk to us, someone needs a recommendation. This is how we got our first deal with Rindens, for a recommendation of one of the HackFwd referrers. So it gives us instant benefit to be here in this program.
Other hackboxes like YieldKit, Delta Strike and others received very interesting industry awards or regional awards for their excellence of work. We completed financing rounds for some of them with up to $3.5 million. And our Hackbox Fantasy Shopper gained the most prestigious awards of all. They won the Worldwide Amazon Challenge, where they beat 1,500 other startups on a worldwide level and won the first prize.
HackFwd has helped us a lot, both like on a technical level and on a business level. We're completely honest, like we wouldn't be where we are if we hadn't joined HackFwd. It's been like the dream of our life and an amazing experience.
I am very grateful for so much experience and so much various opinions about our company and to our goals.
This is a web application, it's a Flash application.
And we came up with a great addition to our program called Pitch in Berlin, which is an open pitch invitation to the best software teams across Europe. And we received over 100 of amazing startups.
Bibleverse is the universal translator.
We always select 10 companies to pitch in front of our audience, of our hackboxes, of our community, of referrers, VCs, bloggers and experts. And some of them are actually becoming hackboxes. If you want to participate in the Pitch in Berlin contest, just go to pitchinberlin.com and submit your great idea. I think software developers are the artists of the 21st century, and we should praise them. So we created a new prize for the under 18-year-olds. Our first winner, Luis, 15-year-old from Spain, created an object-oriented desktop in HTML5, and everyone was blown away by this kind of talent. We have to do this again. So if you're young, under 18 years old, go to hacknow.org and submit your great talent. So the HackFwd events are also about great people, great parties, just great nights out. And we are very much looking forward to the next year. If you want to become part of this revolution of software engineers building great companies, join us now at hackfwd.com.
All right, so thanks for paying attention to that rather long video, and you probably think, thanks for the commercial, David. Didn't really need to see all of that. But actually, I showed the video for another reason, because I think it ties in to everything that I want to talk about today. I think it really highlights the fact that you need to find the right community, that you need to find the right people. And how to do that is by experiencing things like this. And it's not necessarily HackFwd, but it's this event, it's Gamma Rebels. It's something where you are able to meet people that are going to help propel you and your startup into the future. So I wanted to start with this quote. I love this quote. Reid Hoffman from LinkedIn. Doing a startup is like jumping off a cliff and assembling an airplane. Okay? Not easy. Not easy. And in fact, impossible to do alone. So you will need other people to help you along the way. Okay? Another quote actually that I just got this weekend from Tom Hume, who's a design director at IDEO. Serendipity favors connected people. And that's the thing that it's really all about. And I wanted to share a couple of personal stories that actually go way, way back. When I was in university, I was part of a large student organization. We had to organize a conference. And the conference was for a week, 500 people, students, right? So what do students like to do? Well, what does everyone in Poland like to do? Drink, right? And so you have to keep the budget low so the students can afford to come to the conference. So we have to fundraise the beer, right? So no one has to pay for it. Beer for a week for 500 people, it's a lot of beer, right? Americans can drink too. I went to school in Colorado. And in Colorado, there's a beer manufacturer brewery called Coors. And so what did we do? We called up Coors. We called up the highest guy in the company that we could find. He was actually number 3. So there was the Coors brothers or family, and then there's their number 3 guy. And we got a meeting with him, and he went to his office. This guy was a character. He was, I don't know, close to 70 years old, I think. And he had been around during Prohibition, and he was driving his car over the Mexican border to get alcohol to bring to Washington, D.C. for politicians, okay? He also was an incredibly heavy smoker and had an oxygen tank in his office in case he ran out of his own, because he was like, while he's talking. But anyway, we go to the meeting, we get the meeting, right? That's the hard part. But then he says, so what do you guys want? Well, we want beer. He said, well, how much do you need? He said, we need 50 kegs or 50 barrels. It's like, what? What are you going to do with 50 barrels? I said, well, it's for a week. It's 500 people. We need beer. He's like, all right, I'll give it to you. And so for our conference, we had a big truck from the Coors Brewery pull up and unload 50 kegs of beer. Why am I telling you this? Because you know what? If you don't ask for it, you'll never know if you can get it. And that's one of the biggest problems. Most people just don't ask for what they want, okay? Another personal story, completely unrelated to startups and fundraising and anything, just personal interest, right? I really like sailing. Moved to San Francisco, didn't know anybody with a boat. Makes it difficult, right? What did I do? Every single person I talked to, I brought that up in the conversation. I just brought it up, okay? And what happens? You fall upon someone who says, you know what? I've got a boat, or I've got a friend. Why don't you come out with us? And then you achieve that. But that doesn't happen to most people because they just don't bring it up, okay? Whether you're shy or you forget or whatever. But every person you talk to gives you an opportunity to find something else, okay? Really, really interesting. And then finally, very related to startups, had a conversation with a young entrepreneur doing very well. And he said, David, I've got an acquisition offer from a large, very large internet company. And I'm really not happy. I'm really nervous about it because this guy's in Europe and the internet company's in the US, and they want me to move to the Silicon Valley, and I'll be locked in for 3 years. And that's not really what I want to do. I want to build my own thing. And I said, okay, I understand that, right? But maybe this is right now, and you'll find some time to do something else later. But I said to him, you know what? 3 years sounds long to me. I've heard of lock-in periods for a year or two. And I said, did you ask them to negotiate that? And he said, no. And I said, but why not? Why don't you just ask? If they want you so bad, and the way that you've been describing it, they've been coming after you and after you and after you, and the only thing that's really holding you back is the lockdown, why don't you just say, hey, how about 2 instead of 3? Or 1 instead of 3, see how far you can get. But you don't know what they're gonna say. You have no idea. They might say no, but that's okay. Okay, you tried. Okay, so really, you gotta get out there and you gotta talk to people. It's super important. But another part of this is something that I believe in really, really deeply, and I think that it's great that the entrepreneurial community across the world actually adheres to this philosophy. Okay? People know what I'm talking about. You've seen the movie, Pay It Forward. So I think people should pay it forward all the time, as much as humanly possible. Okay? Because I think that's how things come to you. That's how opportunity knocks. That's how serendipity happens. By helping people, whether it's a mentor session, a coaching session, helping a kid learn how to ride a bike. I don't know what it is, but anything that you can do to help propel somebody forward in their own environment, somehow, some way, that's going to come back to you. And that's what makes this ecosystem grow, by people putting things out there. Another thing that I saw recently was that, people talk about networking saying, well, what do I have to offer, okay? Or what do I want? And the thing is that oftentimes the best thing to do before going after what you want is to just give something, okay? So people talk about all these tricks, like how do I get into, the latest I see on Twitter is the Polish and the who's the other country? Somewhere in the Baltics want Dave McClure to come, right? So there's this whole thing about, we want Dave McClure to come. So Dave, if you're watching, come to Poland, it's great. But, so first of all, right, I did that, so I'm sure it'll work. But no, the thing is that, you have to reach out and find a way to interact with the person that the person can cling on to, right? So what is Dave McClure like? What are his pet projects, okay? And if you can engage with him on that level, so I read somewhere that it's, what his thing is like the Startup Visa or Startup America or something like that. So if that's what he's into and that's really what he's supporting, how can you help with that? Is there some way you can help with that and push that? Because then he's going to latch on and he's going to engage with you, okay? And it goes for anything you want, right? I spend all my time doing this, right? Just giving people connections because I know it's great for them, and at some point, maybe not that person individually, but somebody else is going to help me with what I need, okay? It's a huge, huge thing. And actually, the movie's a little bit corny, but if you haven't seen it, watch it. Okay, so this is what pisses me off the most, okay? I think that it's really, really unfortunate that we all go to these conferences, we all have the opportunity to meet some amazing people, and so many people don't take advantage of it. And I think, when people talk about what's wrong with entrepreneurship and the ecosystem in Europe and blah, 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 people talk about loads of things, okay? I've actually come to believe that the problem with entrepreneurship in Europe is that there's a deep-rooted cultural issue, if I can stereotype the entire region, which I shouldn't, but for sake of the presentation I will. The thing is that people lack self-confidence, and they lack self-confidence because they didn't receive it when they were growing up in school, right? At least I can speak for France, and people have told me about other countries. But in France, the teacher says, "You're an idiot." Okay? I'm the teacher. I'm smart. I know what I'm talking about. You don't. Shut up and listen to me. Okay? And that's why people are scared. That's why people are scared to fail. That's why people are scared to talk. That's why people are scared to ask questions. Okay? And that sucks. Because you have to ask questions. You have to meet people. You have to talk to people, or else you're not going anywhere. Okay? So I challenge you now to ask me questions. Okay? Interrupt me. I love the fact that the guy at the back of the room said to Don, "Excuse me, your numbers are wrong." Okay? Brilliant. Do that. Okay? And what if the response was, "You idiot, my numbers aren't wrong"? Who cares? Who cares? Okay? Speak out. Okay? Learn stuff you want to know. It's going to help you along the way. What happened to my mentoring slide? Okay, fine. We'll do it with this. So I wanted to talk a little bit about mentoring. Okay? Alex, who I keep referring to just because I guess he's in the front row, so it makes it easier, wrote this article on mentoring in startup programs in Europe. And I thought it was really, really interesting, and so I went and wrote my own. And I'm a little bit torn, right? I think we need mentors. Everybody needs mentors, no matter what situation you are in life, right? People that we look up to, people that can guide us, people that can give us information. But one thing I think that happens a lot, especially again in Europe, is that we're flooded with mentors, or we're flooded with mentorship opportunities, which is good on the one hand because it forces people who don't have the courage to approach, to meet people, so that's a positive. But on the other side, what's a great mentor? Why should you or you give me advice on what I'm doing? Are you going to give me the right advice or not? I think it's really, really difficult. I think that when you look at things from the video that I showed, or you look at people in the room here, you have to figure out who's right for you, right? How is that going to happen? And it's also a mutual thing, right? So you can't say, "David, can you give me some advice on your startup?" if there's no affinity there for me, okay? It's also silly to say, "David, what do you think about customer acquisition and long-term value?" Okay, because that's not my area of expertise. Seek out the right people, get them excited about what you're doing so that they want to feed back to you and form this relationship with you. I think that's really what it's about. And I think that you can derive a lot of benefit from that, a lot of good, a lot of power. If you spend a lot of time figuring out who the right people are for you, and do it early. Surround yourself with these people early on. Don't say, "We're too small, we don't need this yet," okay? Because time moves incredibly fast and faster these days, and it's really important to get the right people around you. And so with that, I'll move into the hiring part of it, which is what this slide was about. And I think this is really the critical matter for everyone doing startups, is that you absolutely, positively have to have the best people around, okay, with no exception, right? So just for a second, I want you to take a look at these items and tell me what they all have in common. Somebody has a guess. They're not all Hungarians. They might be, but. Anybody else have a guess? Come on. I won't bite you. They didn't do it on their own? Nope. Okay, it's too hard. It's too hard. It's not fair. All of these people work at Google. Okay? And that's just a sampling of the type of people that work at Google. Okay? They've all done some really amazing things. But the thing is, if you go back here, and the reason that I put this photo up and talk about Everest is because the thing about Google, and I don't know if I mentioned this, but I worked there for almost 7 years hiring people, is that it's not just about the intelligence. It's not just about the experience. The most significant thing that Google looks for, unless things have changed, is passion, okay? Passion. Passion for something in life, for things in life, outside of just studying or working, but playing some kind of musical instrument since you were 5 years old and really trying to excel at that, or climbing a mountain, or playing sports, or doing something amazing within your community. But the reason for that is because, at least this is what I've formulated after all the time, is that everything in your job and in your professional work is going to change really quickly, unless you work for the post office. Sorry, personal pet peeve. But the thing is, it's going to change really fast, right? So I'll never forget, I was talking to some guy at Google about it and saying, what do you think is behind all this in terms of, why do we hire like it? And he said, because David, in 12 months, every single person in this company is going to have a different job. And the person needs to be able to adapt, okay? Because that's how fast we're moving. So we don't know what they're going to be doing tomorrow. So with this type of evidence that people strive for success and excellence, we think and believe, and I think they're right, that these people will be able to adapt the easiest, okay? So in terms of hiring, you've got to look for the passionate people. Okay, they're the ones who are going to pull you up the highest. But then going back to some of the networking and the mentoring stuff, something I really wanted to touch on toward the end here that I think is something, if you leave the room and you don't remember anything I said, okay, which is probably what's going to happen, you remember this, okay? You always, always, always have to be engaging around these three areas with people, okay? Networking, mentoring, and hiring. So maybe you're a 2-person startup today. Maybe you've got a roadmap that goes out 6 months to get your beta together. So you say, I'm not thinking about hiring, I'm building my product. That, my friends, is stupid, okay? Because it's very, very hard to find people who climb Everest. It's very hard. So you need to be looking for them and meeting people so that you can find them, so that when you need them, they'll be there, okay? The whole thing about finding a co-founder, especially a technical co-founder, it drives me absolutely insane. So no offense, and if somebody wants to punch me later, go ahead. But the thing is that you can't just put out an ad for a co-founder. No way. Okay? It doesn't work like that. Please go read Founders at Work, okay? And find me the example in that book where one of these great success stories put an ad out to find their co-founder. No way. They found their co-founders, their core team, because they've known them for years, because they work together, they study together, whatever, right? I mean, this is serious shit starting a startup. You're gonna be working your ass off. And by the way, if you're not working your ass off, reconsider. But if you're looking for a co-founder, you know what my advice is? Go work at a company for a couple of years where maybe you'll find a co-founder, okay? Go find the coolest company doing the coolest tech shit wherever you can, and go there and spend all your lunchtime and all your coffee breaks with the engineers, okay? Build the relationship, and then something's gonna come out of that, okay? It's all about this relationship building. So, I wanted to definitely leave more time than usual for questions because you're going to ask a lot. Remember the challenge. But before I do that, I want to show you one last short, non-advertising, well, you'll see a huge brand name, but anyway, video. So that boat weighs 8 tons, just for information. Why did I show you that? Because when it comes to all the things that I talked about this afternoon, I really want you to do the following, okay? Do crazy shit. 1, it's fun. 2, it gives you a story to talk about. 3, you will meet really interesting people. Take big risks. I'm sorry that many of you grew up in an education system where professors didn't give you the opportunity to explore and beat you up, and therefore you're more risk averse, or you're afraid to fail, or you don't want to ask a question. Fuck it. Change the attitude today, okay? Take the big risks, because you'll never know what you're missing until you try. And please, or damn it, talk to people. Thank you.
So I hope you'll take the loss of voice seriously and you will talk to David. Any questions?
Okay, fine. I remembered it. Good. So, when I was, I don't know, 13 or 14, right? I lived outside of Boston. And in Massachusetts, fireworks are illegal. Okay? So, it was nearing the 4th of July, which we celebrate in the US for independence. And the thing that you do on the 4th of July is find a way to get fireworks. So, in Boston, actually it's changed now, but there used to be this area called the combat zone. Okay, or I guess you'd call it the red light district in other places, but kind of dangerous. You don't really go there. But this guy told me, if you go and you stand on this corner over here and just wait, somebody will come and take your order. So I did. And I ordered $200 worth of fireworks, which at the time is a lot of fireworks. Okay? And I thought, I'm going to sell them, right? That's an entrepreneurial thing to do. Sell them around the neighborhood like you sell newspapers. Well, I don't know, my marketing didn't work, I wasn't convincing enough, I didn't really make a good sales job. So I said, you know what am I gonna do with all these things? I know, I'm going to visit my grandparents in Florida. I'll bring them down there and shoot them off on the beach. So if you know the geography of the US, Boston, Florida is about, 1,500 miles or something. 3,000 maybe, doesn't matter. You have to take a plane. So obviously this is way before 9/11. So I wrapped all the fireworks in aluminum foil and put them in my bag and checked them on the airplane, and nothing happened. Thank God. And so I got to my grandparents' house, and I had my bag, and I was unloading my stuff to put my clothes away or whatever, and my grandmother walks in and sees all these packages of aluminum foil. And she says, what the hell is that? Nothing. What is it? Like fireworks? She says, you will not touch those while you're here, you will take them back on the plane with you. And the story continues. Actually, of course, we weren't not going to use them. So they lived on the 24th floor of a condominium complex in a balcony. So we took some of our fireworks and just like that. And then, of course, one of them bounced back in. And you know those spinners, they go zzz? So they're spinning on the carpet of the balcony. And we're trying to put it out. And anyway, we're like, fuck, whatever. There's nothing we can do about it. So the next morning was awesome. My grandfather comes in and he says, David, you're never going to believe this. There was a bird fight on the balcony and they ripped up the carpet. This is awesome. And I got away with it. Until 10 years later, my grandmother said, there wasn't a bird fight. I know exactly what it was. Anyway.
I've been blogging for 6 years and I received about 40 or 50,000 comments. So for me, it was the usual day. Someone told me a toothpaste or some other stuff. So I built a like a really huge shell for other kind of comments. I don't know if that helps me or not, but when you say that people should applause and do crazy stuff and think big, that kind of thing. Don't you think, I do it, and I see that people that I talk with, well, they either accept it or are offended with it. What's your take on that? Should you continue or think that, oh, I'm talking to this guy, so I'm going to be very polite?
Sure, I mean, you have to tailor the message, right? I mean, it depends who you're talking to. We at our event last weekend, there was the CEO of Deutsche Telekom, right, who I actually thought was going to be this old, really boring dude, and actually he was really impressive. But you wouldn't go up to that guy, and just say anything, right? It's not protocol. But I don't think that you should be afraid to speak frankly, and that's what I saw some people do in the audience. And so there's a difference between being polite and being direct. Okay. I think you say what you say, because that's the only way you can advance your ideas. And so either the people latch onto that or they don't. But you eventually want to find the people that latch onto it. So if you just beat around the bush, it doesn't serve any purpose for either of the parties.
All right, so I have a little bit more of a question about the actual speech that you just gave. There's a difference, I think, between what you did for Google, which was not hiring. I think you were more filtering or screening, because if people come to Google, you don't have to go find them. I'm presuming at HackFwd, you're more seeking out people. I'm sure there's a certain flow of deal flow when it comes to entrepreneurs. So the question I'm kind of asking is it really hiring when you're trying to get people onto your team, or is it creating an environment that's going to attract people? Because right, you're saying go out and meet people, and serendipity will, sure, you'll find some people, but I think the reality is more about creating an environment that attracts people to you versus actually hiring people, because most people who do crazy shit don't get hired.
Yep. So it's a great question, okay? And the environment is critical. Okay, absolutely. You have to have a great environment. But I will, completely disagree on the Google bit, because yes, there's a massive incoming flow, massive. But the fact of the matter is the incoming flow mostly isn't of high quality.
What was the split?
If you get highest percentage of hiring at Google is referrals. Okay, and then massive people dedicated to full-time sourcing. Because the thing is, the very, very best people, even though Google's attractive, they still want to be called, right? They want to be called and say, I've got something special for you.
So the lesson is don't send your resume just blindly, right?
Absolutely, but that lesson is for anyone, anywhere, okay? Because you don't know where it goes. But the thing is that you know, I do agree that you have to create this environment. I heard another talk recently from the guy who started Flare Games, okay, in Germany. And he went on and on and on about how you just have to have this amazing environment and then the developers will come to you. I still don't totally buy that, because you have, even if you're as known as Google, they still don't. So you have to be out there. And I think that's what's really, really important, because then you meet these people. And again, you know, if I go around and all day I tell you I'm looking for a great iOS developer, somebody's going to give me someone, right?
Yes, I read Bill Gates's book, The Road Ahead. That's decades back. And even when Microsoft had 10,000 people, Bill Gates would make the call to try and get people to go and join him. So I completely agree. I just comment on the creating the great environment, that there are some government-funded bodies in Poland that are trying to set up accelerators and incubators, and for them the great environment is the Nintendo Wii, the bathtub, the bean bags and multicolors. And I would just strongly advise everyone not to worry about that, get the great people, because the great people are the people who attract the great people, and that's the important thing.
I agree with you, and I think I would tag on to that and also say that really important things are autonomy, okay, especially for engineers, and big challenges. And that's what I think attract people, and we can offer that at startups. And I think that's what's one of the great benefits, but you have to get that messaging out.
Yeah, and there's a TED talk by Dan Pink, Motivation Without Money, which talks a lot about this. And and also I think there's a problem that startups are cool, and some people who go into startups are doing it because they want to impress their friends rather than because they care about anything, and that's also a problem. Yeah.
We have room for two questions. So Kuba and someone else.
Can you tell us more how you measure success in recruitment? How you can tell that you hired people which you can climb Mount Everest with? So, you know, what's your success ratio, or how you measure that?
Like success rate as a recruiter, or success rate as a recruiter. It depends who you are as a recruiter, or how you work as a recruiter. Because if you work at an agency, a recruitment agency, you just got to get people in the seats, right? And so you make money, and you make more money, and then I guess you're successful.
It's not successful.
No.
Sustaining talent in your
correct.
organization. Yeah.
So internally, okay, if you work inside the company, the success rate is based on the people that come to the company, do amazing things, stick around. If you're really, really advanced, you take their performance ratings and match them against the recruiters and say who's recruiting the best people. There's a lot of different things to do. It's very difficult, and very few companies actually measure impact of the people that the recruiters are bringing in. They just measure the people themselves, because it's a long-term thing, and many recruiters are very volatile in terms of.
Are there any tricks you can do in the hiring process that that can predict that, you know,
sure,
the person you hire is the right one?
Move this discussion towards
real quick, I'll give you the answer to that question. And it goes right back to the slide on passion, okay? Number one thing is that person has to be passionate, right? The person has to be passionate about what you're doing and passionate about what they're doing, okay? Number one indicator.
Oh, it's last question, and do we have Ben? Could you prepare your computer in order for your presentation?
Okay, so I'm a developer myself, and I know a lot of developers have a really, really long time talking to people. I mean, it's easy to say, like, go and talk to people. That's what I tell my wife, and she was like, fuck you. You know? So, what would be like the initial steps you would recommend to people that are not shy, that have such a hard time talking to people? What would be like the number 1, 2, 3 steps, very basic steps that you start really to get engaged?
Okay, so the first thing you have to do is just say to yourself, you know, this is something I want to change. I'm shy. Okay, first of all, I'm shy. Yes, that's right. Admit it. Okay, I'm shy. Okay, the number one best thing I ever did for myself back in university was to sign up for a class called oral speaking. Okay, I was scared to death. The first thing you have to do in the class is do a stand-up 30-second presentation with a video camera, right? I think I was red. I think there was like water dripping down my shirt, right? But that's how you do it. You have to make that jump, okay? But then the other things I would say is put yourself in situations that are more comfortable for you at first, right? So chat with people online, right? Most developers can do that. And then and then move it to a public place and meet the people. But just try, right? Because the other thing is when you go to events and you hang around and you at least look somewhat open, people will also come to you. Okay? You just have to make that. But the most important thing is just take the leap. Just take the leap and things will come to you. Thanks a lot.